morning. Morning, Ali. Morning, Chris. Morning, Stuart. Morning, Jed. Morning, Rosalind. Morning, Dunk. D-Doc. Eddie. Morning, Lorraine. Scott. Ellie. Bill. Karen. Maggie. Robert. Morning, Kerry. Morning, Jim. Morning, Brian. Morning, Jim. Again. Morning, Tammy. Nearly there, folks. Nearly got 100 on board. When we get 100 on board, we'll get this broadcast underway. Okay. Quite good. Hi, Bob. Hi, Heather. Hi, Colin. Lynn. Austin. Morning, Brian. Morning, Derek. Right, that's 100 of you on board, so let's get this broadcast underway. Andy Davey out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it's a bloody miserable morning, overcast, wet, but still reasonably warm at 11 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look at your own bloody windy. Alright, this is a review of the weekend's news for the 4th, the 5th and the 6th of November 2022. Right, Friday started with two main themes in the rags. Longest recession warning and Scotland is skint. The longest recession warning comes from the Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey. He hiked interest rates by 0.75% on Thursday. Then he held a press conference to tell us the bank doesn't intend to raise rates much higher. He then tells us we are now in recession and he expects it to go on till the middle of 2024, after which the growth rate will be 0.75% year on year for a decade. 2 minutes after the speech, and the markets reacted. Right, there was a rapid dip in the value of the pound as more investors offloaded sterling. It recovered a little bit later that day. It dropped into 111 and back up to 112. All right. As to Scotland's skint headline, it is a lie. Scotland most certainly isn't skint. Scotland has an abundance of riches: oil, gas, whiskey, food, and other drink products like gin. Scotland has a massive financial sector. It's got a healthy construction sector. It has a fantastic technology centre. It has a world-class higher education sector with healthy research and development. And it's also world leading in medical developments. All right. We have a first-class health sector. Now, what the lying unionist rags should be telling the people is that we are rich, extremely rich, abundantly rich. What we're talking about here is the fact that we're in the union, all right? Now, what they're telling us we're skint for is because John Swinney's made it clear there is no more room in the wriggle room in the fixed Scottish budget, which they call a block grant, but it's not a block grant, it's a return of our own tax monies to us, some of. They take 100% of our revenues, some of which we don't even know the extent of, and then they send us back about 61% of what they collect. So they tell us, what a bollocks, to run the country. Last year, 41.6 billion. I think we sent down 78. Work that out for yourself, folks. And that didn't include other revenues, you know, because the GERS figures are made up with a lot of baloney. Scotland contributes much more to this union when we get back. If we held on to that money ourselves, we would just take last year 78 billion down, 41.6 billion back. If we'd have kept the whole bloody lot, public services would be really healthy in Scotland, and there would be no need for these bloody cuts. As I say, but what's happening here is we're at the very limit of that Scottish block grant, as they call it. Westminster are refusing to adjust it for inflation, so it's not going as far as what it should. But Scotland most certainly is not skint. There is more money lying uncollected in bonded warehouses on whisky that has yet to be taxed than what there is in gold in the Bank of bloody England. I think the last estimate was about 170 billion quid's worth being stored in bonded warehouses. Scotland's no skint. What it is the guy next door is running our finances thanks to the idiots that voted no last time round in the referendum. So the idiot next door has crashed the economy, has squandered our wealth, and has bet the house on us staying in the union to prop up its pound and to pay its bloody debts. So the headline that Scotland is skint is an out and out lie. Right, moving on. Friday, and the RNT union warns of strikes every Friday and Saturday in the run up to Christmas as it steps up its industrial action for fair pay and working conditions. I am actually quite concerned about the railways, especially the plans they've got for them doing that road and Network Rail. They want to half the maintenance staff. Sounds a bit dodgy and dangerous to me. They want to lay off all of the ticket office workers right across Network Rail. That includes here in Scotland. So that makes trains unsafe for people with learning difficulties and disabilities. Who helps them on and off the trains if there's nobody working in the stations? I am a bit concerned about the plans they've got for railways doing that road. Anyway, RMT up their strikes. Aye, Chris, I did see Starmer telling us that politics isn't about democracy. What a spanner. But we'll get to Starmer shortly. Anyway, next up, moving on, Friday, and back here in Scotland, and the First Minister's in front of the Public Audit Committee, where the cuckoos in the nest accused the First Minister of inappropriately awarding a contract to build 2 ferries to Ferguson Marine. The First Minister tells them that the procurement process was a bust. The First Minister is then accused of jobs for the boys, awarding Jim McCall the contract. I have no idea what that's all about. They then accuse her of wasting public money and nationalising the yards. The First Minister said they had to save the jobs and the shipbuilding skills on the Clyde. Right. Then the idiot cuckoos in the nest blame Miss Sturgeon for the 200 million overrun on the still to be completed ferries. The First Minister tells them that she is ultimately responsible for everything the Scottish Government does. And that's the end of that session. All right, the Davy says the focus of the research inquiry is totally wrong. The focus of the inquiry should be looking into why Ferguson Marine failed to fulfil its contract to deliver these 2 ferries. Then they should be assisting the shipyard to get up to speed and saving these jobs in the Clyde, so that going forward when we place further orders out there, then Ferguson Marine can bid, win them, and actually deliver them in bloody time. Because we need these skills on the Clyde. The First Minister is absolutely right. We have got 900 islands or something stupid like that. They're not uninhabited, obviously. We're a maritime nation. We need these shipbuilding skills to survive, and we certainly need commercial yards. So, the cuckoos in the nest are rang on this one. The inquiry's also rang. It's looking at the procurement procedure when it should be looking at Ferguson Marine's failure to be able to fulfil the contracts and then sort that end out. Because we're a maritime nation and we're going to need this whole fleet ferries replaced. Absolute nuts. But I mean, the cuckoos in the nest will take no lessons for them. on procurement. Crossrail, 4 years late, £4 billion budget. That cost the Scottish people 330 million quid for a bloody choo-choo track in London. HS2, don't get me started on that. Wow. 105 billion in, and nothing's running. Wow. You know, and then we could, of course, go on to Hinkley Point. God knows how many years it's running out, and how much our budget that is. The Scottish Government has got a far better record in procurement and delivery of public projects than the shower of idiots in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. We'll not even mention track and trace, will we, or dodgy PPE contracts costing the public purse 47 billion quid. 8.3% of that will be ladled onto the Scottish people as their debt. Wow. We'll take the lessons on public procurement for the cuckoos in the nest, or their imperial masters down south. So let's ring off some of the most successful public procurement and infrastructure programmes which have been done here in Scotland. Queensferry Crossing, on time, under budget. Aberdeen, Powerfield Bypass. M74 upgrade. M8 upgrade. Dalry Bypass. Maybole Bypass. All in, on time, on budget. Throw in the Borders Railway. I think we can say that the Scottish Government's got a damn good record on procurement and delivering of infrastructure here in Scotland. Hey. Mental. So, as I say, the inquiry's gone the wrong way in that one. Right, moving on Friday. The United Union to ballot workers in the Highlands and Islands Airports Limited, a Scottish Government arm's length company that runs airports in the Highlands, Islands, and also Dundee Airport. All right. Staff were offered 5%, but how, as they call it, Highlands and Islands Airports Limited, they've offered 5% on behalf of the Scottish Government. United says it's not on. It's an insult. 5%. What they're saying is that their members working for Highlands and Islands airports, as they live in rural communities, and the cost to rural communities of the cost of living crisis is much worse than what it is in the Central Belt. And they might actually have a point. But doesn't change the fact there's no wriggle room in the budget. So they can look each other in the eye, same as everybody else in the public sector, and wonder whose job's gone. Simple as that. Right, moving on Friday, and former councillor Mark Kerr found guilty of grooming and sexually abusing teenage boys. The former North Lanarkshire SNP councillor for the Kilsyth ward was warned by the High Court in Glasgow to expect a custodial sentence. Now, apparently, he groomed these boys and abused them well before he became an SNP councillor. And he's no longer an SNP councillor, but the headlines had to have SNP councillor in it because it's going to be an SNP bad story. So what it should have read was private citizen Mark Kerr told to expect custodial sentence for grooming and abusing teenage boys. That's what the headline should have read. Alright, and finally for Friday, United to ballot 2,500 NHS, Scottish NHS employees on strike action after rejecting the latest pay offer from the Scottish Government. Alright. Now, the strike will affect 7 health board areas, and it will affect Scottish ambulance services. Members of the GMB union are also joining in, as well as the Chartered Society of Physiotherapists. Winter of discontent's upon us. Right, let's move on. That's the stories I picked out for Friday to look at. There were bigger stories, but they're the ones that caught my attention. All right, I hope you found them interesting. Let's move on to Saturday. Right, Saturday started with two main headlines on the rags. Spiking assaults on NHS staff and UK government plans tax raid on people's pension savings. Right. Now, the Looney Rag, the Express, warns also tells us that Hunt and Sunak will sink the Tory party if they ditch a triple lock on pensions on the 17th of November. But they don't give a shite. But we'll get to that in a minute. And the eye tells us that spending cuts will deepen the recession. All right, so let's break that down, will we? Assaults on NHS staff up by a third to 20,000 incidents in 2021. What? Wow, that's no good. What the hell is wrong with people? Huh? Get a bloody grip. Nobody deserves to be attacked at work. You know, no the police, no the ambulance service, no those in the accident and emergency, no those in the NHS, no teachers, no anybody. No soap workers, no truck drivers. None of you deserve to be attacked or abused at work. What the hell is wrong with people? The people in the NHS are there to do their very best for the health of the nation. Show some bloody politeness and manners. Right, Sunak plans to balance the books. Apparently, one way he's going to do it is a stealth tax on people's pension savings. Let's hope I can get mine sorted out before he does it, eh? Right. And as I say, as to the warning to Hunt and Sunak or the triple lock and pensions, they don't give a shite. The Tories know they'll post the next election. They don't give a shite at all. The Tories know they're sitting out the next 5-10 years. They really don't give a crap. And as to cuts to public services to prolong recession, of course it will. Generally, when you cut the public services, people lost their jobs. People lost their jobs, there's less cash out there to be spent into the economy. Now, what you actually should be doing in a situation like this is infrastructure projects and investing in public services so that you can increase the amount of cash flowing into the economy. The economy grows, you get to take it back in tax. The economic illiterate, the Muppets down that road is not real. So, the eye is absolutely correct. The cuts to public services will deepen and extend the length of the recession. All right. So, that was a rag. Let's move on. Okay, moving on. Saturday, and ScotRail runs skeleton services despite strike being called off. It will be Tuesday, apparently, folks, before the full service resumes. So, chaos on the roads on Monday. As commuters who would normally travel by train take to their cars. All right, it's also no good for climate change either, is it? But, you know, everybody right across all the sectors, everybody wants inflation busting, pay rises. And rightly so. Right, moving on, Saturday, back here in Scotland, and the First Minister's appearance at Audit Scotland Committee is all over the Pravda. The British Brainwashing Corporation tells the gullible it was jobs for the boys, whoever the hell the boys are. And the First Minister tells the Pravda it was all above board, and she wouldn't have overruled Derek Mackay's decision to award the contract to Ferguson Marine. Of course she wouldn't. We've already spoken about this. These skills are required in a maritime nation like Scotland. We can't afford to lose these skills. And we need more yards to construct what we need for a navy, for the service our islands. So no, of course you wouldn't. In fact, you get right doing it. We need to invest in more yards. Right, moving on Saturday, down that road. Analysis after analysis makes it clear Brexit is an unmitigated disaster. So, wee snake in the grass, Michael Gove is the levelling up minister, whatever the hell that means. He's dispatched to tell us all that Brexit has been a rip-roaring success. We tells us that the UK government had signed new trade deals worth 800 billion since Brexit. Problem is, he's a liar. 72 of the trade deals are rollover and exactly the same as the one when we were in the EU. Just a rollover. And the 3 new trade deals that they've negotiated, they're going to add something like 0.08% to GDP over the next 15 years. And that was a trade deal with Japan, a trade deal with New Zealand, and a trade deal with Australia. And 2 of the 3 throws our farmers under a bus as cheap New Zealand lamb and Australian beef will be imported into the UK, and that will tariff-free, and that will undercut UK farmers' ability to sell their meats in the UK market. Absolute mental. We go as a liar. In fact, Yvette Cooper ripped him a new one when Truss was the minister for trade. You know, the silly woman that says, I'm going to Beijing to open up pork markets. Brexit has been an absolute disaster. The OBR's right. The economy will shrink by 4% year on year over the next decade, 15 years. And the cost of living crisis and high inflation, they're here for a while, folks, especially in food. Spoke about this yesterday with the 2 Davies. There's less choice in the supermarkets. The low value of the pound means the cost of buying foods in from Europe have went up. In Europe, and to be honest with you, European businesses just can't be arsed with the paperwork. But no matter what it is, you know, just can't be arsed. I said this before Brexit. What happens now is, when I did the food security thing, what happens now is the food that would have been coming here will now make its way to the other 27 countries in Europe, and the cost of living in Europe will come down. It will, in the long haul. But the cost of living crisis for us, it's here for the long haul. All right, where am I? Right, moving on. Saturday, and it's been reported that organised gangs are renting out food carrier accounts to crooks. Now, what they're saying is, you know, these deliveries that you get, Deliveroo and whatever else is out there, what they're saying is organised gangs have got a bunch of people together to go and get vetted to be issued with accounts, to pick up food at takeaways and bring it to your house. Now, what they're saying is they've organised people who would pass the vetting to take to get vetted to be delivery drivers for these companies. They're no delivery drivers for these companies at all. They go back to their ordinary job, and apparently the crooks are renting out these accounts to other crooks. So when you're getting your Chinese delivered, could well be your house is getting scoped for a burglary later on. So there you go. Gangs of crooks are taking out Deliveroo and whatever else. All right. Also Saturday, it comes to light that Astuci's erupted at Edinburgh Council. It's all over a televised council meeting. So what they've been doing is they've been televising the council meeting so that people of Edinburgh can watch them. Right. Anyway, the Astuci's, because it's convenient the transport the transport committee, transport and environment committee. The Green councillor asks the convener why two emergency emissions or submissions had been dropped for the agenda. Anyway, apparently, the convener of the committee, Scott Arthur, he didn't want the general public to see what his reply was going to be to this guy. So he pulled the plug on the live feed so the public could no longer watch. Anyways, McVeigh Councillor McVeigh, an SNP councillor, says it was undemocratic. They're supposed to be live so that the public can scrutinise what they're doing. After all, the council is liable to the people, same as any elected representative, you know. Anyway, so there's a wee station going on in Edinburgh. There you go. Hey. Right, move. So that's Saturday for you. You notice I've stayed away from most of the crap down that road. You know. That's because it's just sleaze and grime, but we'll get to some of that, alright? Right, let's move on to Sunday the 6th of November. Sunday started with a real mixed bag in the rags. But that's the Sunday favours for you. You know, you always get a mixed bag in the rags. So we'll look at this segment and we'll take up with what's in the rags, alright? So Scotland on Sunday, leads on SNP Westminster leader Ian Blackford saying Scots won't mind tax rises to protect public services. Well, we've seen that. Since the new tax system come in and things like that, every time there's going to be a tax rise here in Scotland. You know, there's a Stussy saying, can find higher tax and things, higher tax. 47% of the population, working population in Scotland, pay less income tax than what they do in England. We can afford to stick a penny on the pound right across the 5 bands. Or we can stick a penny on the lowest band. And then as we go up the bands, increase it a wee bit. So that those with the broadest shoulders contribute a wee bit more. But it's worth it to protect our public services. And that's what Blackford says. Right. It also runs a bollocks headline that Sunak wants a Four Nations approach to the cost of living crisis. Basically, Sunak's saying to the devolved administration is, you think you bloody well tell. And we'll call it Four Nations. Right. The Telegraph says Hunt plans a 10 billion tax grab on the rich. I heard that. The Telegraph also tells us we have to get a bank holiday for King Chuck's Funny Hat Day. So there you go. Apparently, when King Chuck gets his funny hat in his napper next year, we'll probably get a day off. Apparently, that lot down the road, you know, the four-lock tuggers, apparently, they seem to be interested in that sort of thing. Wow. The Looney Rag, the Express, tells us that harsh cuts to public spending hurts police. Apparently, police can't buy vital equipment. Listen, look at the idiots in the House of Thieves and carpetbaggers. They created the situation. And we can blame a lot of the problems on the actual voting population next door, who were gullible enough to believe that leaving the biggest free market on the planet was a good idea. Wow. The Herald says NHS in meltdown. And the headline is this. It's a big dramatic headline, you know. Our worst fears are being realised. Apparently some deaths at the Southern General / Queen Elizabeth University Hospital / Death Star, take your pick, have been caused by staff shortages. Alright. They also tell us there's great disparity in NHS waiting times from health board to health board. So a lot of truth in that. For example, when you look at last week's stats, I think Orkney seen 94% of people who showed up in NHS Orkney at A&E within the 4 hours. Whereas if you take Glasgow, massive population centre, more and more people want to use A&E, then it's only about 63%. And when you take the Central Belt health boards, it's them that are dragging the figures down to where they are at the moment across Scotland. So actually, there's disparity in different areas. You know, it's different right across the board. So there you go. Now the other bit says, Humza Yusuf to get a grip before winter. Now there's a shortage of healthcare workers right across the planet. We'll get a wee bit more of that when we get to Starmer. Yusuf can't just magic healthcare staff out of thin air. Mental. But we've spoken about this, folks. The pandemic's no over. And The regular winter respiratory diseases are about to kick in. So it is going to be murder. It's going to be, and take into account at the same time, the lunatics doing that road are chopping budgets. And that will include the NHS. So, absolutely nuts. Ruth, we've all had great experiences with the NHS, Scottish NHS. It's not as bad a picture as being painted. The picture that's being painted is for two reasons. So that Westminster can take it away as a devolved responsibility and package it up and sell it off to the private sector. That's why we're being told our NHS is shite. That's the facts. Right, where else we go? Okay, the National runs a story saying world leaders must follow Scotland's First Minister's lead at COP27. It would appear that the Scottish Government's efforts on the renewables front is bringing the First Minister a lot of international attention. Sunak won't like that. But, you know, the Times tells us that there's a global network of hackers and they're targeting VIPs. Apparently, an Indian gang of hackers are targeting MPs' email accounts, and some British businesses are also being targeted. The one to worry about there is MPs' email accounts. When we talk about people like Braverman and things like that, they're not very good at security. Well, apparently, some Indian hackers are taking advantage of that. Right, and the Times tells us, that was the Times. That was the Times. The Sunday Mail runs a bollock story that Western Berkshire School has been told not to tell parents if their kids are identified as something other than what sex they are. Gender Recognition Act again, folks. I don't know, the public consultation on the Gender Recognition Act was quite intense. I'm not really going to get into it, but what I can tell you is 66% of the party members in the SNP are apparently approved the thing, and the general public are behind it as well. The changes to the Gender Recognition Act here in Scotland have been enacted in 22 countries across the world. It doesn't seem to have caused a problem. I don't suppose it will cause a problem here. Whatever problems there is, and whatever perceived fear there is, I'm sure they'll work it out, folks. I'm sure they will. I'm sure women's concerns are right. But as I said, to me, it's an engineering problem. You just build floor to wall cubicles and open spaces. Well, open spaces that are shared. Open spaces are shared all the time. Yeah. The Post says Church of Scotland condemns Braverman's invasion claims. Well, you'd expect the Church of Scotland to condemn that sort of language. You'd expect all churches to condemn it. These people are fleeing persecution or war. Or even if they are just coming here looking for a better life because they've no advantages in their own place. What we do know is these illegal immigrants, there are no illegal immigrants in asylum seekers. There's such things as an illegal immigrant. And you've got to remember, the UK government hasn't opened any channels for anybody to try and get here without coming by boat. Right, the Looney Rag the Mails tells us that Randy Andy was in tears when his brother King Chuck told him there's no way back into public life for him. I would hope no. The guy's a pedo. It cost us 12 million quid to pay off the lassie he was abusing. Wow. Right, let's move on Sunday. And Sir Conrad Starmer's in Scotland to slag off our NHS and tell us he is the answer to all our problems. Apparently, he'll deliver economic stability and growth. No, he won't. He rules out rejoining the single market and a return to free movement of people. He also says Scotland isn't trapped in the Union, but now is not the then goes on to tell us importing vital healthcare staff isn't the answer to the woes in our NHS. Starmer says he'll train 7,500 extra staff. Well, you know, he's been interviewed by that. Pravda, the British Brainwashing Corporation. And to be fair to the news, the reporter, he says to the interviewer, he says to Starmer, hold on a wee minute. Scotland's got an abundance of training places available. People don't want the jobs. Starmer's going to tell us that his wife works in the NHS and it's a daily discussion. There's a breakfast table. He says because the NHS has been run down. People don't want to work in the NHS for various reasons. Most of them being, I mean, the real reason being is bloody well hard work. Looking after ungrateful people. Especially when you're being attacked. There's apparently 20,000 incidents in the NHS last year. You want to track the thing today. But anyway, Starmer says we shouldn't be importing these people, we should be training them. So let's get a wee look at that, right? So for no important to plug the hole until we day train, 7.5 years to train a doctor. I'm not quite sure how long it takes to train a nurse. 4 years, I would imagine. There's no quick fix training marine people. Either. So he wants to train 7,500 people to work. I'm assuming it's NHS England, because let's face it, if he doesn't understand that the NHS here in Scotland is devolved, he's a spanner. That's 7,500 people he wants to train. That means in 47 years he might crack some of the problems. But apparently, they've got a shortage of 50,000 nurses doing that route. He wants to train 7,500 people. This guy talks mince. And anybody that believes the guy's another. He cannot bring economic stability because we've been set adrift. And as we've already seen, we're at the whim of the market. I mean, look at the Truss's laugh. You know, 50 billion black hole in the public finances because of her bees are going to buy, and 7.6 billion quid has fled London in investment since Truss opened their gov. I don't know how much fled the other day there when the Bank of England raised interest rates and predicted a prolonged recession. Because let's face it, if I'm an international financer and there's going to be a long recession in the UK, nothing here to invest in. Nothing. So Starmer's talking bollocks. The other thing is, we know Starmer gets in the door to number 10, and the first thing that'll be dropped on his desk is a wee note for the Treasury saying, sorry, buddy, all these promises you made, unfundable, bugger off. So Starmer apparently is the answer to all our woes, and we're still waiting on Gordie Brown's alternative to independence. Apparently, you know, the federal UK wheeze that they're going to try and sell us again. Devo, Super Devo Max. I thought we already had that. We're going to add a couple more supers into the Devo. Have we? Anyway, Starmer's up here trying to get the attention of the Scottish people. He gets a bum rush, basically. The spanner. Right, where are we? Moving on. Sunday. And the fallout from a Bonfire Night is all the news. It's not good, folks. Two policemen hurt and hospitalised in a petrol bomb attack in Edinburgh. Really? Cars and people targeted by fireworks. Emergency service fire and rescue responded to 350 incidents. They were attacked numerous times. We'll try to deal with fires and things like that. It's time we scrapped it. A wee thing that the people of Scotland here should know is it's not a Scottish thing. It's an English tradition. Shouldn't even be north of the border here. The gunpowder plot was in 1506. The Union didn't happen to 1707. Why the hell we're setting Marine House on fire and attacking each other with bloody big bangs? I have no idea. As you all know, my birthday's Bonfire Night. Just scrap it. It's not a Scottish tradition. Just say enough's enough. You want to build a wee fire in your back garden? Fine. No fireworks. None. Just outlaw them. And only to be used publicly by organised displays and times of celebration. And I don't mean Bonfire Night. It's nothing to do with us. 1506, Union didn't come about in 1707. It's their business doing that road. Just outlaw it. Right, and Sunday, Mayor Tory sleaze. This time, Minister Sir Gavin Williamson. I think he's a business minister, isn't he? Something like that. Anyway, this time, he's in the crap for sending a expletive-full texts to ex-Tory whip Wendy Morton. Now, apparently, the stush is about Miss Morton limiting the amount of Tory MPs that could have attended the Queen's funeral. Not so much personal life. Anyway, just sack him. You're absolutely incompetent. He's been incompetent in every job he's had in government. Well, right, here are the stories I picked out the weekend for you. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. We'll go and have a wee look and see what the rags say this morning, shall we? Let's see what Monday's rags hold for us, eh? Right, Scotland's papers, night of shame and cheap air travel for islands. Right, what's this all about? Edinburgh Evening News and night of shame. This is a violence erupts in capital on Bonfire Night. Police injured after petrol bomb attacks and cops warn culprits were coming for you. The Metro has police hunt rocket jobs. The Record has fireworks night mayhem must stop. I've just said that, just scrap the bloody thing. The Herald has ease ferry crisis by giving islanders cheaper air travel. I suppose. Might work. Depends on how much you can go on an airplane and how big the runways are. The Eye has biggest ever nurse strike would hit A&E patients. Hit everybody! Now, according to this, around 300,000 nurses are thought to have voted in favour of industrial action and the first of potential cascade of strikes by NHS staff that could bring health service to a standstill. Well, 300,000, that's certainly not talking about Scotland's NHS alone, that must be UK-wide. Right, the Scotsman has UN warns of sea rises after record hottest 8 years. Ice caps are melting, kids. Yeah. The parasite, which is the human, is bringing the planet to its grisly end for life, apparently. The Telegraph has Britain opens doors to climate reparations. So number 10 could be forced to pay out to poorer countries hit by global warming disasters. Well, you know, if the industrialised West has caused that much pollution, the islands and the South Pacific or something like that are disappearing underwater, then we have a duty to take the people and to pay reparation for the damages it will cause. And apparently, according to the Telegraph, Sturgeon accused of COP27 hypocrisy over budget cuts. Davey explained this on Thursday. Davey will explain this again. The Scottish Government's not cutting the budget. Westminster's cutting the budget. They're also refusing to adjust the budget to inflation. So the money that we do have in the Scottish budget isn't going as far as it should. That headline should be, Westminster forces Scottish Government to cut budgets on green investment. That's what the headline should have been. The Times has, billions more spent in UK will count as foreign aid. Right, the Times focuses on Treasury's plans ahead of the autumn statement. It says the government is in line to spend almost half of the foreign aid budget in Britain as it grapples with the arrival of migrants in small boats. At least they call them migrants. But they're no migrants, they're asylum seekers. and they're asylum seekers right up until the minute their claims either rejected or accepted. The loony rag, the Daily Express, has cancelled cop cuts or lose control of our streets. I mean, don't talk pish. Crime's at a 44-year low. Wow! The other loony rag, the Scottish Daily Mail, has outrage over free mobiles for prisoners. Every prisoner in Scotland is to be given a free mobile phone when they are locked up. Why don't you let them take their own bloody mobile phones in there, then? I mean, that's a basic right to want to try and keep. They should be allowed to keep in contact with family and friends outside. The National has Starmer slams door on IndyRef. SNP banned Labour leader almost embarrassing on denying Scotland its choice as they warn disastrous TV interview will ruin his party or will hurt his party. Thanks to Starmer, we can now say we know for sure there is no voluntary union. Right. Now what else we got? Where's the Star? Here we go. And the Star of Scotland has the jungle kicks off, Coco's pants on fire. Who dares whine about their SAS TV deal to line pockets on I Am a Celebrity? I have no idea what that's all about. Daily Star's front page also takes aim at Matt Hancock, reporting claims he had a contract on another reality TV show, Celebrity SAS. He changed it so he could appear in the jungle, apparently, on the I Am a Celebrity thing. And apparently his fee is 400,000. I thought they stopped doing that. I thought they capped it for everybody, but it appears not. So it would appear 400,000 is what Matt Hancock's getting for appearing in the jungle. Now, that's what I've got for you today, folks. As I say, they're the stories I picked out to look at over the weekend. I hope you found them interesting. I hope you found them informative. Remember, there is a campaign underway. Project Fear Mark 2 is way underway. You know, the propaganda telling us we're shite every day is getting intense. Anyway, the crap about the EU no wanting us because we don't want to adopt the euro. Crap. A lot of crap. I don't know. David and I might do a wee chat on how the exchange rate mechanism works and things like that. Okay. But we'll see. Anyway, that's what go piece. So, eyes on the prize. Learn you how you're going to get out there and win hearts and minds. There is a campaign underway. Unionists are at their wits' end. Starmer yesterday was a fair example of panic. All right. An absolute fair example of panic. They are spooked down that road. They're fear of how the Supreme Court's going to rule. And it's looking more and more like they'll probably come down on the side of the Scottish Government, because how do you tell a nation that can't ask itself a question? Especially a nation that's in a union. And there is a treaty of union. And as we know, you can't hold somebody in an international treaty against their will. All right? So eyes on the prize. Learn you how you're going to get out there and win hearts and minds. You only have to win over one person. Just one. It's a bit like when I was talking about last week with the carry on about the party who used sterling for a period before transitioning to their own currency. That's how it happens. I spoke about Malta, I spoke about Ireland, you know, and that's how it will happen here. We'll set up our central bank, we'll get the legislation in place to launch a currency, and it'll be launched. Now, there is one thing I forgot to mention. I have wrote it down. Miss Sturgeon saying yesterday that the NHS in Scotland will be protected and stay in public hands forever in a written constitution for Scotland. That there is a piece of information, folks, that you might want to carry with you when you're out there trying to win hearts and minds. Okay. Right, support the independent media, Sport Broadcast in Scotland, Sport Independence Live, and the Live Radio, Caldon Media, and through radio, Support the iScot magazine and the national newspaper, support independent bloggers and bloggers. And if they've got a crowdfunder on the go and you've got a shekel spare, throw it in the pot. These guys do great stuff. All right, remember, pandemic's not going away. I'm not going to give you the figures. Just look at Travel and Tabby, you'll get the figures. The death rate's still higher than what it was when we went into the first lockdown here in Scotland, believe it or not. There is 800 odd people in the cranking house. All right, so follow the last couple of bits of guidance. Well, there was 2,600 new cases last week, apparently. Anyway, follow the last bit of guidance. We're coming into winter. This could get worse. So clean hands and surfaces regularly. And when you're in enclosed public spaces, mask up. The other thing is, if you're not feeling well, mask up. Have some social conscience. Look after your neighbours and your friends and your family. All right. And if you work in health and social care and you're still using NHS lateral flow test, ensure that you submit your results, guys. Use work in your communities. All right. Which means your results will give an indication of how much it's in your communities. You use a lot. Have a great day. And apparently, the pound's doing against the euro again. Hey, just popped up the screen. Anyway, have a great day. Look after each other. We'll be back to do it all again tomorrow.